Hello, hello, guys. This is the 100th episode of the podcast. That is freaking crazy to me. There is something about hitting 100 episodes that, I don't know, has me feeling legit. Like we're doing this, like we're really freaking doing this. I have been thinking back to when I first started, and I would have to number the episodes, and it'd be like 003, or episode 4 would be 004. And I was like, man, we're going to have to do a lot of episodes to fill up those zeros. And I was actually kind of worried that I was going to run out of guests and run out of things to talk about. But I haven't. I feel like the conversations just keep getting better. Which reminds me of a conversation that I had a couple years ago. I was at dinner with my cousin Alyssa and her husband, and she was asking me about my blog. And she's like, how do you find things to talk about? And my answer was immediately like, my life. My life is content. Life is evolving. We are always learning lessons. We're always going through struggles. There's always something to talk about. There's always a new chapter. There's always something to reflect on. I think everyone has that. Like life is just evolving, right? There's always something. And I thought about that as we were coming up on the 100th episode, because I'm having conversations now that I never thought I would have when I first started, or I never would have thought about when we first started. And I'm interviewing guests that I would have never thought I would get on the show. And we're at over 500,000 downloads. And it's just so wild to me. And I'm so grateful and excited to see what happens over the next 100 episodes. Because like I said, everything just keeps evolving and everything just keeps getting better. Now, for the 100th episode, I only thought it was appropriate to have Darren on because, obviously we all love sitting and chatting with Darren, and these are always my top episodes. And a few weeks ago, I was coming up with an idea for an article in my online magazine that I release in my membership, the exclusive Stepmom community. And I asked community members in the forum to submit questions for Darren. So we did this Ask Darren section in the magazine where he answers a couple questions. And the questions that came in, they were so good and there were so many of them. So what I did was I categorized the questions. So in the community, we have podcast episodes that are next level. So they're kind of like the podcast episodes that we have here, but they're unfiltered and they're conversations that I wouldn't typically have just on the internet because we get a little more vulnerable and personal and it's just a safe space. So I took some of the questions and I have put them aside for a tell-all podcast in the community. And then I took the other ones, which are also really great questions, and I added them to a list for this podcast episode that I'm recording right now. So if you're a member of the community, stay tuned for that Tell All Next Level podcast. And if you're not a member, don't worry. The questions that we're answering today are also super informative. And I'm actually really excited for you to hear this one because Darren dishes out some really great advice. And we share how we deal with a lot of the extra stress that comes in our blended family and some things that we still struggle with. So it's just as raw and real, but maybe a little less vulnerable than the one that you'll find in the community. Now, before we get to this episode, I have to tell you a story. And it makes me laugh so much, especially now that I'm out of the awkwardness of it all. So this past weekend, Darren and I were sitting by the fire, having a cocktail, doing our thing. And we started to play this game where we would ask each other a question and then we would both have to answer it. So he asked me a question like, who has disappointed you most in your life? And I asked him, like, what are you most proud of when it comes to our marriage? And then the other question that I asked was, what annoys you most about me? And when it came to the what annoys you most about me, Darren said that it annoys him how unorganized I am. He's like, it drives me nuts. I just don't understand. You can never find your keys. You can never find your wallet. You mix up dates and appointments. Like, you are just so unorganized, and getting organized is just really simple. And we laughed because he's not wrong. I truly am a bit of a hot mess express, especially lately. And then I was telling him all the things that I'm actually doing right now to try to get reorganized. And I kind of exaggerated a little bit, but I am working on it. Well, fast forward to Tuesday morning, we're sitting in the office, which looks out on our driveway, and we're recording this episode, the one that you're about to listen to. And I see Darren looking out on the driveway and being super distracted. And then the doorbell rings and I was like, oh shit. I had an appointment, like a very early morning appointment with a nurse who was supposed to come to the house and do a physical and blood work for a life insurance policy that we had just put on me. And I totally forgot. Like, we were in the middle of a podcast episode recording. The house was trashed. I didn't have anything prepared for the appointment that I was supposed to have prepared. Like, I literally had totally forgot. And so when she comes in, I'm obviously like super flustered and I apologize because I had forgot and I was unprepared. And Darren is just staring at me, shaking his head. Like, how could you forget this? Like, this is so important. And it literally proved his point for the weekend. I was just so embarrassed. Oh my God, we had to stop recording, do the rest later on in the afternoon. And yeah, it just, I don't know, it proved Darren's point that I am a bit of a shit show right now, but whatever, we are all a work in progress. But yeah, this just reminded me, everyone has their stuff. Everyone just has a lot on their plate, and everyone has things in their marriage that annoys the other person. For the record, though, the one thing that annoys me about Darren is how loud he stirs his tea. So I made sure that he knew that. Anyway, before we get to this episode, I just want to do a huge shout out to those of you who have left a rating and a review on iTunes. Guys, I cannot tell you how much these ratings and reviews mean to me. Not only do they remind me why I do what I do and why we keep having these conversations and how much the world needs to have these conversations, but they also help me get more great guests and continue to take these conversations to the next level. So thank you so much. As always, if it resonates, if you like this conversation, hit me up on Instagram, share it with a friend, let me know what you think. We just actually started a whole new Instagram account dedicated to the podcast. So you can find it at Kick-Ass Stepmom Podcast on Instagram. And if you're not already, be sure to come hang out with me at Jamie Scrimger on Instagram. I seriously love connecting with you guys so much. All right, let's dive in and hear Darren's answers to the questions that you guys submitted. Let's do this. Welcome to the Kick-Ass Stepmom Podcast. I'm Jamie Scrimger, wife, mom, stepmom, life coach, conversation opener, and BS caller. 7 years ago, I found myself sitting on the bathroom floor with a glass of wine, bawling my eyes out, wondering what the heck I was thinking, marrying a man with 3 kids and an ex-wife. Don't get me wrong, I was madly in love, the kids were great, but as a 26-year-old with zero experience in the parenting department, I was in over my head. When I went to the internet for support, I was disappointed with what I found. So I decided to create the type of support that I was looking for. Raw and real conversations about all things motherhood, stepmotherhood, and living a kick-ass life. Life can be hard, really freaking hard. But each week I'll bring you tips and strategies and mindset shifts to help you thrive amongst the tough stuff in life. My goal is to inspire you to live your version of a kick-ass life. We'll bring you along as I create my own. Let's do this. All right. Hello, Darren.
Good morning.
Good morning. I literally, guys, for context here, Darren just got out of bed about 5 minutes ago. I was like, meet me downstairs to do a podcast. And I was sitting down here waiting.
I think that was just a misunderstanding. I thought you were going to come get me when you were ready. No.
You went back to sleep. So another early morning podcast episode for us. And today we're doing a Q&A. Darren, that's what I'm telling you. We're doing a Q&A.
I know.
Okay. All right. So we are going to answer questions that were submitted in the form of the exclusive Stepmom community. So this is actually going to be a 2-part podcast episode. The first part is going to be on the podcast. And then the second part for questions that are just a little more personal and juicy and require a little bit more unfiltered answers, I guess. You can find that part in the membership. So members, you will be expecting or seeing that episode very soon. So Darren, I'm just going to dive right in. There's so many good questions. Let's do it.
All for me, or are they for both of us?
I think for you, actually. These are for you. People love you, eh? Like, people want to hear your opinion. I think a lot of the husbands want to hear your opinion too, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of support for the partners to the stepmoms. And you're the go-to guy right now. So first question, how do you balance being in the middle constantly? For example, trying to respect the kid's mom and her thoughts, but also being sympathetic and supportive to your own wife. I have thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's a balancing act.
Do you feel like you're in the middle though?
I wouldn't say I'm in the middle. I still think I'm always on your side. I'm on my side. I'm on the kid's side. And the balancing part is when we're having or going through a difficult situation and you're not totally agreeing with maybe the decision I've made or the direction it's going, or you're frustrated because it's causing us issues. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I don't know if I'm a balancing as much as maybe a gatekeeper.
What do you mean by gatekeeper?
Well, I get the information and I figure out how I have to deal with it, and I figure out how you're going to deal with it, and I figure out how it's going to affect the kids, or it's going to affect our relationship, or it's going to affect my relationship with my ex. So I sometimes feel like I'm almost a gatekeeper as much as a balancing act, and you have to digest the information and decide what is worth a battle or what is worth, taking that extra step to help somebody, what is worth trying to keep the kids out of the middle of something. I think that's the big thing now is I never want to put the kids in the middle of an argument. Ours right now is often dealing with financial stuff and agreements to how it's dealt with, I guess. And I think I'm kind of a gatekeeper at that when I decide, what I'm going to, really make a big deal or not a big deal, or I'm just going to take care of it, or I'm not participating in it. So that's how I see it as much as a balancing act.
Middleman. Because I feel like it's not a middleman, because that almost feels like it's like her versus me and you're in the middle trying to be the middle guy. And it's not like that. And I do think that society kind of pits moms and stepmoms against each other and makes it seem like, you have to keep both of us happy. And realistically, you don't have to keep both of us happy. Your loyalty is to our new family and to life together. So I think...
Yeah, to be honest, I'm more worried about your happiness.
Well, I hope. Yeah. And I just think that we need to change the wording around that. And especially if you're struggling with that, there shouldn't be a middleman. Your partner's loyalty should always be to you and to the best interest of the family. And that being said, sometimes it will feel like they're taking the other side, but it's really because they're looking at things from a different perspective. It's not about being the middle man, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's kind of like being a gatekeeper. You have to kind of decide what you're going to let affect your current relationship from the past relationship.
Mm-hmm. Wow. We just got into, this is deep Q&A. We got right into it.
A filter. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd word it, but yeah, it's a tough balance, but yeah, I'm always on one side, so to speak, but it all comes down to trying to keep everybody happy and keeping peace.
Yeah. What is one thing that Jamie does or could do to make you feel supported in this middleman role?
I think it's understanding it is a middleman role, and it's not always the most fun role.
Like, just support the pressure that you're under.
Yeah. It's not, I don't want to be in that position. I want to be with you and loving you and, carrying on in our relationship, but we have this third party that sometimes comes in and we have to deal with issues with the children. And I think the support is just understanding where I am and what I'm at and what my thoughts are. And maybe I need to be better at telling you, this is why I'm not reacting. This is why I'm not calling the person out on this. This is why I'm not doing this right away. I have to think about this because this could, if I do this, it could relate to this, this, and this.
Yeah. And I think we've gotten really good at that because I started to ask you, okay, well, why? I'm trying to understand your perspective instead of coming in and barking at you and be like, this is how we need to deal with things. This is the way it should be done. I started to be like, okay, I just need to understand why you're responding this way. And when I go in with that open mind, it helps because then I'm understanding that you're looking at things from a completely different lens.
Yeah, you just can't shoot from the hip. You have to think about it.
Sometimes you kind of shoot from the hip.
And it still happens.
All right. So next question. How do you balance the idea that your relationship with Jamie should be a first priority, but at the same time, the kids are always first? That's a long silence
That,
there.
that you,
We talked
the
about
kids,
this.
yeah, we've talked about this before. The kids are always a priority, always a first, but you are too. It's just a different relationship. I think if you weren't the stepmom and their real mom, it's a different relationship anyways. Our relationship is different than my relationship with the kids.
Yeah.
And I think they're both firsts because they're different categories. You know, I wouldn't rank one a first and one a second. I think they're both first because they're different types of relationships. You know, it's father, son, father, daughter versus, you know, husband, wife sort of scenario. But I do understand where this question is coming from, because there are times, and we've been through this and we've talked about it, that, you know, the kids become a priority and you feel neglected, or, you know, I don't do some of the little things for you that, you know, you think I'm doing for the kids, or I'm on as, I don't know, a super dad when the kids are around, but I'm not a super husband at times. You know, you're sort of always just there.
I think I felt that more in the beginning, though. Like, I don't care now.
Coming from, but yeah, I don't think it. I think that's something just as time goes on, you realize, you know, your husband, wife. You know,
Yeah. I don't love the whole like kids need to be first, or the marriage needs to be first. I get it. I get where you're coming from. Like, your marriage always needs to be a priority. But I think we need to change the way we look at that, because I think sometimes some stepmoms get caught up in the whole like my partner needs to always choose me over them. It's almost like choosing someone over the other. Like, one takes a priority. And I think that there shouldn't be any strict rules on who's first. It's like managing the situation. Like, you always want your relationship to be a priority. You always want to show the kids that you're a united front. You want to model that healthy relationship. But I think it's important to remember that you know, when you have kids and they're running around and you have, you know, legal battles and you're running a home and you have work and you have all these things, all of those things are naturally going to just get done. And what happens is your relationship gets put on the back burner, that one-on-one time, right? And I think naturally kids are a first priority. It just happens that way. It's this, natural tendency to always make sure your kids are okay. And you have to be more deliberate about your marriage and make your marriage feel like a priority. And that's, I think, the difference there.
Yeah. Again, it's not a nice thing to make somebody make a choice. I think you're right on that.
Yeah.
Like, making a choice and saying, okay, this has got to be number one, or that's not fair. And another thing I'll just comment too, that as the kids get older, and again, I'm not sure where the age of the children for this question, but as the kids get older and get more dependent, you find they don't want to be number one with dad as much.
Yeah, dad is not number one anymore either.
They want to go hang out with their friends or do other things, and you know, you take your moments, and then it's back to just you and the two of us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, even yesterday the kids came back, and my stepson came in. He's 17, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, what's up?" Da, 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 and then walks into his room and shuts the door. And I heard you go into his room and be like, "Hey, like, talk to me. Like, what'd you do this weekend?" And you asked him like so many questions. He's like, yeah. Right? Like, just a teenager. Whereas before he would be like, "Hey, Dad, let's go play mini sticks. Let's go do this. Can we go do that?" And
jump on the trampoline. And what are we doing? Are we going this? Are we doing this? Now he wants to go hang out and text his friends and then go see his friends.
Yeah. So you get to the point where it's like, it's very heavy on the kids for a while but it does pass. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, we're not their priority anymore. Okay. Next question. Jamie is so big on doing the work on herself, which is why I love this community. How does Darren do the work on himself to support and understand you? Is there a bio dad support group out there for blended families, or have you done any participation in counseling?
No, I haven't, to be honest. I haven't done that, but
what work do you do on yourself to support me?
I think, you know, your background and the conversations we have has made me look at things in a different way and made me work on my reaction to things. And unfortunately, not everybody has that with the person they're with.
Unfortunately, everyone cannot be married to me.
So I think, you know, it's probably not a bad thing for people to go and speak to somebody or take a moment. And I quietly go through things myself. And, you'll even find that where, oh, you agree to what I'm saying 3 days later. I'm one of those that needs to go back and go through a situation numerous times in my head to be, okay, yeah, I was wrong and I need to work on that. And then tell you at some point, yeah, I understand. I understand your situation. I understand I was wrong, my reaction. And I'm good at that.
You got to mull it over.
Yeah. And sometimes you've learned now just to give me a wide berth and let me go mull it over. And then the result is often more reasonable, or it's more along the lines of me looking at both sides instead of just my opinion. And that took us a long time to get to. I think that was some of our early arguments would be, this is my opinion, that's your opinion. Now we both know, okay, just give it a little bit of time and it's probably going to be okay. So I think I'm very good at going back through the situation and saying, okay, I get that. I understand that. And that's just taking time.
Yeah, a lot of time. What I think is really funny / annoying is I will tell you something. I'll be like, we need to do this, or let's look at it this way. And then 3 days later you come back and you're like, yeah, so we should look at it this way. I'm like, whoa, funny. Where'd you get that idea from? I said that 3 days ago. It's true.
It's true. But again, that's just my personality. Sometimes I need to think through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a bulldog. You like to mull things over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It works. Darren, how do you balance and meet the needs of Jamie and your kids from the first marriage when the needs are not aligned and are at different ends of the spectrum? So we kind of touched on that, but I think, actually, it doesn't matter what I think this question is for you.
Oh, I think because of my limited time with the kids, when the kids are interested in something, and I often am right there for that. I am guilty at dropping everything and being there, because again, you only have the kids, or we only have the kids 50% of the time. I'm not sure that relationship where that one's coming. Maybe they have the kids more. And that might be a different situation. But because I only have the kids 50% of the time, I actually was probably prioritizing my stuff with the kids before you at times. But then the next period where the kids aren't around, I would always try to make up for it. We would do things to make up for it. We would, have our time together
And I just got used to it at the very beginning. Like, week on was we were on with the kids, and week off, we would do our own thing. And we kind of scheduled things around that. And I know a lot of stepmoms kind of resent that. They feel like they're all on, like their partner is all on when the kids are there and they don't get enough attention. And I think at that point you need to say, hey, like, can we do something after bedtime? Or can we do one, just have breakfast together or coffee together? But I do think you need to respect that your partner only has their kids a certain amount of time, and they want to reap the benefits of that. They want to really, get all of that quality time in, because as much as they maybe didn't want to be in that marriage anymore, the marriage ended, no one gets used to the fact that they aren't with their kids all the time. Like, I can't imagine being without Reese for a week. And I think that now, after we had Reese, I started to be more sympathetic to you and how hard that would be to be away from the kids. I didn't understand until we had Reese.
Right. Thank you. And it's, for us, it's been 10 years, so it's gone fast. And that's why I do take advantage of trying to do things with the kids when I can. But we are, and again, you just have to, everybody's got a schedule, whether it's, you work shift work, or your job entails you working at night. And so you have to face the fact that sometimes even in your relationship, it might be a different relationship than the relationship next door, so to speak. And so we were very good that when we didn't have the kids, that's when we made our time together. That's when we would, go have some fun together, or more romance, or whatever you want to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The other thing I also want to share is that, do you remember that one time we were sitting in the basement and we were, it was our week on, and we used to always do all of our, schedule our weekends and keep them open for when the kids were there. And we were sitting there watching Dateline for the third week on in a row, being like, oh, why did we stop scheduling things? Why, the kids aren't here. We got to the point that the kids were older. And I was like, the kids don't want to hang out with us anymore. So if you're in that heavy phase where it feels like it's really all about the kids when the kids are there, and it seems like it's, dragging on, trust me, it goes fast. All of a sudden you'll be at the point where all your weekends are free because the kids, are off doing their thing. So it really does go fast.
Yeah, I remember that. I'd say don't schedule anything this weekend. The kids are going to be here. We wouldn't go out for dinner with friends or plan to go anywhere or do anything. And then all of a sudden we realized, wait a minute, we're just sitting around here and the kids have all gone somewhere.
They don't want to hang out with us anymore. Alrighty, next question. What are some things that Jamie does or says that you find helpful if you and the kid's mom are struggling or you're dealing up with a flare-up of conflict? How do I help you?
I think some of the things that you do that are helpful to put the situation in perspective and understand that I might be frustrated or angry or dealing with a difficult situation. I think when you come back and just are understanding that that's what I'm going through, I think that's something you can say instead of, voicing your opinion about it. Just say, yeah, I get that's must be frustrating.
Are you telling me that's what I should do or that's what I do?
A bit of both. A bit of both. You do that sometimes, but then other times you'll jump right into your thoughts. But I think sometimes and again, I don't mind hearing your opinion. I don't like when you get angry though, and when I don't take your opinion. And maybe
so are you telling her not to get angry or are you telling me not to get angry?
I guess I'm talking to you right now because you're right here, but I'm really answering the question. And I guess some of the things that you say is, or you should say, or I'd like you to say.
Or what I do say. Like, I feel like I do pretty good in this department.
I said, or what you say. That's what I said. I said, or what you say. And I think it's just being able to loop around the whole situation and understand it and that you're there and you're there to help. And I think sometimes right away, couples want to jump in and sort of argue about how this is going to be handled. I think it's better sometimes to go back and say, okay, this is what's going on. What is upsetting about this? Is it, a stupid little thing we've dealt with where there's stubbornness involved and, it's just a stupid little thing. Let's just take the high road and drive the kids instead of this back and forth about who's going to drive. Like, remember those little things?
Yes, I do.
And that's just, we do that all the time now. We just,
does it matter? Does it matter?
Does it matter? And we have to do that all the time. It's little things, little jabs, little things there. And you're very good at, I think you're very good at saying, Darren,
doesn't matter.
Is this worth a big battle? And, it's going to make her feel good because we didn't do something, but.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's really important is to just look at things from other people's perspectives. And I think I'm typically good at that and coming in and saying, okay, well, this is what this person's perspective is. And this is why they feel that way, or this is how the kids feel this way, or why they feel that, what I mean? Just trying to look at everything from everyone's different lens, because it's especially in a blended family life, like people look at the same situations in such different ways that when you stop and you think about it that way, it can kind of change your perspective, or whether you think it's a big deal, or actually whether you can make a difference, right? Sometimes it's just not worth the battle because you're not going to win.
Right. Yeah. Just sometimes play devil's advocate and say, okay, is this worth it? Is this time we're going to get back, or is this going to be something we're going to dive into and it's going to be just a waste of time? I don't know. It's a hard one to say what should be said because every situation can be so unique. Mm-hmm. But I think it's being more supportive than a critic, and even if you are critical about how I might be handling something, it's supportive of the situation. And yeah, but I wouldn't handle it that way. Mm-hmm. And you do that.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How do you and Jamie handle conflicts when you have different ideas on how to handle parenting or rules with your children from your first marriage? Here's what I think is really interesting. We've been asked this question so many times, and I think the answer keeps evolving because we keep growing and we keep evolving. So I think, we get better and better and better at dealing with this as the years go on.
Yeah, I agree. I think we evolve with it, but we also maybe tolerate it more than we used to, or tolerate or each other's opinion. Maybe, like, I know you sometimes have your opinion, but I think you're better now at saying, okay, this is how I would do it. But at the end of the day, is it worth us getting into an argument over? And I think that's the big thing, is you can micromanage every single little situation, and it's not always worth it. I think sometimes you want to pick your battle when it comes to parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something you really, really disagree with, then it's good to speak up and say, and same with me, if I really, really disagree with something that you made a decision on. Because lots of times I'm working or not here and you've seen the kids or you're the first one at the scene and you make a decision and, I have to decide whether I agree with it or don't agree. And sometimes I'll pull you, you and I will go aside and talk about it.
Yeah. And I think what's been big for me is just letting things go. I used to be just really on top of everything that I disagreed with. And now I try to pick my battles. Because here's the thing, when you're constantly on your partner about how they're parenting their kids, it just becomes noise, right? Like your voice doesn't really get taken into consideration as much because they're just used to you bitching all the time. And so now when I have something and I'm like, no, this is like a non-negotiable, then I'm heard more because I'm not all over the things that I don't agree with that are just little and don't actually matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just shared my
think
strategy with you, Darren.
if somebody constantly nags you about something, it becomes water under the bridge, but if it's not a constant thing, and then you bring something up, it's whoa, this is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your voice matters more. All right, next question. Did Darren experience feelings of guilt when you had Reese? Did he have a hard time having one child with him 100% of the time and then the others 50%? If so, how did he deal with those feelings?
Oh, I think there was a period where I would feel guilty because Reese would get attention all the time and the other kids would get it 50% of the time. So I think at the beginning I felt that way and wanted to make up for it when the other kids were around. And I know I did that. But as time goes on, that I don't feel the guilt. And again, it could be maybe their age. It could be more independent. The kids are more independent. There could be a lot of reasons. But yeah, there was a period where I would say I felt some guilt because I felt Reese was getting all this attention and different things that we would do. And it depends on the household. And I'm not saying anything about their mother's household, but just if one household does certain things and the other doesn't, are the kids missing out on something over here, or is Reese missing out on something over there that they're doing? And so you do try to even it out, or you try to be cognizant of that when it comes to the kids. I don't feel that as much anymore. I feel all the kids in their own way are treated equal, even though Reese sees me more. I think the other kids gets, the time they want with me whenever they want it.
Mm-hmm. Plus they're older too, right?
Yeah. And again, that comes with age. I think, when they're little, you worry about it more because they're more dependent on you.
Yeah. Do you know that just reminded me of, I know there's a lot of stepmoms who have new babies and they struggle because they feel like when their stepkids come, their husband or partner is out doing stuff with them all the time. And they're like, what about me? Like, we have a baby, like we're feeling left out. Like, I feel like we're two separate families. And I'd love to touch on that quickly because I felt like that at the beginning. I felt like you would always be out with the kids doing stuff and I would be home with Reese. And this was when I was like breastfeeding and, we didn't have a sitter or anything, but that's normal too. And I think that people, I think stepmoms get kind of caught up thinking, okay, well, he doesn't care about this new family. He's only cares about his kids from his first family or, however you want to word it. But it's not really like that. It just comes down to the age of the kids and what they're able to do.
Yeah. And I think we discovered that because I think we had that dialogue or argument numerous times that I was going off and doing things with the kids. And I said, it's not to do with my kids from first marriage or our new child. It has more to do with age. The fact that the baby breastfeeding can't go out on a snowmobile right now, but the older ones can. And is it fair to the older ones that we don't do that because the new baby can't? And I don't think that would have made a difference if this was our first marriage and those were our older kids or not. I think there's that piece that you maybe do feel left out. And I also think there was a time there when I would say to the kids, let's go do this. And you'd say, well, you didn't even think of me or invite me and I'd say to you, you're always invited, but sometimes I wanted you to know you don't have to come and do this if you want some time to yourself or you want to do your own thing or you just need a break.
Well, yeah, and a lot of times I actually didn't really want to come. I just wanted to be invited.
It's true.
You would be like,
And
"Do you want to come?" Well, no, I don't want to come. Well,
but you wanted to know that we invited you, that you were on the invite list. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's like that with different things. They are fine not going, but they want to at least be invited.
Yeah, I want to be able to say no.
I always said you were always invited, and I think I got a little bit better at that, saying, "Why don't we all go do this?" And you say, "Well, I don't think I want to." You do that now. You say, "No, I don't want to do that."
I love when you guys all leave. Oh, it's great. I love when the house is empty, and now that Reese is older, you take Reese, and it's like I just get a couple hours to read a book and be quiet, and you guys like to go out and do your things, and I think it's great for everyone. Yeah. Whereas earlier on, when I was more insecure about my role as a stepmom, I'd feel left out, even though I didn't want to go.
And it was hard when you've got a young baby at hand, and then you've got a 12 or a 13-year-old, and they want to go and do things. It's hard. There's that balancing thing. You've got to have a balance that you still do things with the other kids, but you make sure that your needs are looked after and the baby's needs are looked after. And it is hard sometimes, just again, more to do with age than
well, people will say to me, what is a activity that you guys can all do together as a family? Like we have a 1-year-old and a 13-year-old. And I'm like, well, not much. Like what the 1-year-old really loves to do, the 13-year-old doesn't, right? And I think sometimes it's okay just to say, you know what, this is just the age that they're at. There's not a lot we can all do together without one of them feeling like it's not quite their thing.
Yeah, and we would try to do that. I mean, a simple thing like going to the beach, but it was hard when you had a 1-year-old being down there for 3 or 4 hours when the 1-year-old's crawling in the sand and maybe doesn't love the beach or doesn't love the sand, doesn't want to go in the water. And you've got a 13-year-old that wants to run in and out of the water and swim and throw a football with his dad or her dad. And we always had those issues, but again, as they get older,
things just don't matter as much.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the last question. What is one thing you wish you could do to help Jamie understand, to build her confidence as your wife and the stepmother of your children? So the question is, what do you you wish Jamie would understand to help build her confidence as a wife, mom, and stepmom?
I think the biggest thing to build confidence is that you're my wife, you're my partner, you're my lover, you're my person. And you will always be, when we're going through different parenting events or different engagement with the ex or anything in our life, that you always know that you're that person. And we get busy and we forget or we get caught up in other things. But I think the confidence comes from that, you're always the one.
Well, that was sweet.
I don't even know what word you would use or what sort of phrase to build up that confidence. But I think it's maybe a reminder that how important you are, a reminder of how much I love you, a reminder of how wonderful it is. I think that you've put yourself into this situation to be with me, how wonderful it is to see you interact with the kids. I mean, all those small compliments, I think probably are one of the best ways to boost confidence for you or for any stepmom, is just acknowledging that, when I would come home late and you'd have dinner ready and you'd have these stepkids running around and Reese in a high chair. And, I maybe didn't always say thanks. I really appreciate this. I understand, you probably spent an hour and a half, 2 hours in the kitchen. And I think it's just always doing that and, making that time to show you, I love you. And
well, this is really sweet.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah.
I think that's just making sure you're my person, or I'm your person, and I'll always be there for you, even when we get busy and we get in the thick of it. Yeah.
And you know what? We've gotten really good at that, I will say, is even the other day you did something that I wouldn't normally say anything about, but I was like, thank you. Like, I'm glad that you communicated that with me. Like, that was really helpful. That's what I'm looking for. Or thank you so much for giving me that hug. Like, I love that we're hugging more. Or like, just anything that you really, really like that your partner does. I think it's important to communicate that. And we're getting so much better. And because typically you just point out the things that aren't as things that bug you or things. I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying people in general. We just point out the things that we're not happy about. But when you start to tell your partner all the things that you appreciate and love and give them that positive feedback, that's how you feel confident in that. And I will say, you just said all those things to me and it was super nice. And I love you for that. Thank you. But I know that. I really will, like, I know that now.
Yeah. And I think you always worried before when, again, in a new stepmother, you know, it's new, it takes time because, again, you're stepping into another household, kids that have been raised maybe a different way than what you would have. So I think that comes with time. But yeah, and I guess I could give the fathers some advice too, is you know, things that I was worried about saying to you, a situation going on, which you just said you were thrilled when I actually told you, is it's one of those conversations that sometimes can be a tough conversation, whether it's about budget or a change in direction that we're thinking of doing. And the fact that I was very transparent early on that this is what I was thinking, instead of just getting, you know, here's what's going on or getting upset, you were really thankful. So I think the earlier you can start having conversations about different things in your life, then
even the hard stuff,
even the hard stuff, again, you really appreciate it and said, yeah, I totally understand that. And, you know, I'm good with that. And let's work this out together, instead of me trying to wrestle with it and just keep it from you and then we'll deal with it, or me getting grumpy. So yeah, I think that's a roundabout way to say there's a few things.
I think that stepmoms are just looking to feel like they're part of the team. And the more you can make them feel like they're part of the team and include them in conversations and your thoughts and just have that open dialogue, the more confident that they're going to feel. I know what that was for me.
No, I agree. I think that's what's been great about us the last little while.
Communication.
Very, very, very transparent in everything that's going on. Whereas sometimes I think I used to try to insulate you from things. I'm not going to let Jamie worry about this, so I'll take it on.
And then I find out, and I'm pissed about the thing, and I'm pissed you hid it from me.
We could have done this, or I that wouldn't have bothered me, or, you know. And I think it's you think you're insulating, but then.
And women are detectives. Like, let's be very honest. I am literally a detective. I can figure things out. I can pick up on vibes. Most women can. So when men try to hide things from women, I think it backfires every single time. We're smart. We got this like sixth sense.
Intuition.
Right? Intuition. Yeah. All right. That's all the questions we have. Guys, we do have a whole other list of questions that we decided to put into a tell-all podcast, one of those unfiltered ones in the membership. So if you are in the membership, you can expect that soon. If you're not, we would love for you to check it out. It's at www.jamiescrimshaw.com/membership. Lots of raw, real, unfiltered conversations, interviews with experts, a private forum. Darren and I have some fun stuff coming up. So, yeah, if you're interested, check it out, and see you in the next one.
See you later. Thanks.
Okay, guys, if you like this podcast, please do me a little favor. Take a second and subscribe on iTunes, and then screenshot this podcast, give it a share in social media, and tell your friends what you think. And hey, don't forget to tag me so that I can thank you for helping me spread the word. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.